So
That's not much.
that's not much. But so yeah, so I have to wait for that card, and I have all kinds of auto pay, right? So people call me, hey, credit card.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, I know. I've had to replace my card once. It's like you have to reset your whole life.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm not very good at what's on there. Usually it's all my business stuff, but then I need to make a list of. Jean takes care of all our finances. So
Well, she's retired now. She's got time, right?
don't say this to her. She's gonna slap you. It was funny for a while, but rather quickly it turned into like that's not as much fun as I expected it to be.
What, retiring?
Yes, because she said now she's kind of waiting on me, constantly.
Oh, no, because, oh, yes,
And,
lock up the doors to
no,
the, yes,
just because
yes. But leave those
I'm no longer
sliding
at
doors
work,
right there open because
still
if we run out of chairs.
participate here sometimes, right?
Thank you. Have a good night,
So fun being an
Ronnie.
adult. Yeah. Hi, Steve. Oh, today's dull.
I don't watch TV.
I know.
Did you watch Netflix?
Yeah.
We're watching Alba, right?
Oh, I've not seen that. What's
It's
Hey, Alan.
in Spain, and it's about a rape victim, young girl in her 20s, and she was raped by very wealthy family members. So it's all about money and
oh, fun.
anyway, so it's kind of it's close towards the end, but still
Put it on my list.
Alba.
Like, yeah, like the region in Spain.
So and the Spain, it's in Valencia. It's being played in Valencia. So
Oh.
it's you don't see a whole lot about well, actually the beach. And the houses look more kind of like what is it? South of Santa Cruz.
Where?
The colorful town after Santa Cruz.
Capitola.
Capitola, yes, thank you. It looks a little bit like
Oh.
this.
Oh,
So yeah,
weird.
yes. So
Oh, cool. There's somebody told me to watch The Worst Person on the Internet. And I can't remember what it's about, but my pickleball group is really into true crime. So I know it's about true crime and some evil person.
I like crime stuff. I like, but I'm not really stuff. I mean, made up shit is okay with me.
I like British crime
I
stuff.
do too.
Have you seen Line of Duty?
No,
Oh, it's really
is
good.
it Line of Duty? Okay, Line of
I
Duty.
think I have Britbox, and
We do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we go late to this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God, what else have I watched?
Midsummer Murder. We have watched
Yeah.
everything, or Murder in Paradise.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple of those. Midsummer Murders I used to watch a lot, and then it's kind of light, but Line of Duty is pretty gritty and it's good. Oh my God, what's my other favorite one? Oh, it's with David Tennant and Olivia Colman. It's like a 10-year-old boy is found dead on a beach.
Oh,
It's really good.
Broadcast, Broadband. We've watched Broadband. too.
No.
That's British too.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, this is Broadchurch.
Oh yeah.
Broadchurch.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, we watched
good,
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The main thing, they were talking about land ownership, so I did bring
What
that
else
up.
have I seen?
There were some Australian ones that we watched too, but also great books.
I watched Packed to the Rafters. Have you seen that? It's kind of a family story, but it's got kind of drama comedy. But it's pretty good.
Nice.
Home is Where the Heart Is. That's another drama. It's not a police one, but it's good.
Guys, I was
The other one, Doctor. It's
Oh,
about a heart surgeon that works in Sydney and he gets disciplined and he gets sent to a small town as punishment. The small town happens to be the town he grew up in. And it's funny.
They are in the
and-
packet,
and
so,
it's
I,
I'm very.
Okay.
very willing to share
I
that.
feel like
oh,
all those
Yeah.
online companies, when you watch a certain type of movies, they feed you this certain type of movies, right? And you never get to see the other choices.
yep.
When we go and
100
go
was
visit
the
our
price.
daughter, we look at their selection, like we don't have that at all, and it's all weird shit. I mean, all this
Yeah.
different, completely different.
Yeah,
than what we
you
saw.
skip murder.
Yeah, and we had a second one.
Yes.
I pretty much do too. Yeah.
Yeah, this
I
is,
keep saying-
this is it.
I could by now kill somebody and no one
No.
would have to figure out.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because hopefully I don't have that
Isn't it
ability,
nice?
but
I
I
know.
can see it.
It's a beautiful community,
it is.
beautiful clubhouse.
Video
Like,
games.
really to live here is a treat. I just
Believe that they are.
renting here for a year.
Okay.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah. And then when you
gorgeous.
kill
yeah.
somebody, it's no big deal.
I know.
Walking
I
distance
know.
from a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yes, a lot of people love the
Are we
location.
gonna start or what?
Yes.
Oh,
Cheryl.
She was right
She
here.
left.
She's over right there.
She couldn't handle the crowd.
It's not that big of a crowd. Thank
Good.
you.
It's so fun hitting that gavel. Okay, welcome to the August 3rd Nepenthe Board of Directors meeting, a business meeting. We have a relatively long agenda, but before we get into that, we have a guest speaker. You know, the question of who maintains the levee, particularly in the area behind our homes on University Avenue. And we have here tonight Tim Kerr from the American River Flood Control District, who knows all about this. And we asked Tim if he could come tonight and kind of give us the lay of the land and who's responsible for what. So Tim, the floor is yours. And as I said, I won't ask you to suffer through the rest of our meeting. So when you're done, you can go. So Tim, you're
Great.
on.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
My name is Tim Kerr. I'm the general manager of the American River Flood Control District here in Sacramento. We are the agency that's responsible for operating and maintaining the federal flood control levees in Sacramento. That's both sides of the American River. Up the east side of Steelhead Creek, we have the north and south levee of Arcade Creek. Then we also maintain levees up in Robla Creek, Magpie Creek, and Dry Creek. So the state is the ultimate responsible agency for as the non-federal sponsor of the federal flood control system here in Sacramento. And they're the one that obtained all the easements for the levees starting in around 1935 up through 1955 timeframe is when the state acquired all the land rights. But they also have a regulatory right for the maintenance of all the levees here in Sacramento. But the state doesn't typically have, you know, staff with tractors and chainsaws and herbicide spray rigs and all that stuff. So what they do is they partner with local agencies such as the American River Flood Control District, and we have given them assurances that we will operate and maintain their levees up to all federal and state standards. And that is our goal here. We have, it's a highly urbanized levee district, and we have a huge responsibility to protect roughly 70,000 parcels. It's around 40,000 people in our district. So we have a huge responsibility, but we tackle it head on, and we always seek to have the very best state-of-the-art levee maintenance and safety standards of any district in California. And typically we're inspected twice a year by the state of California. And that's done through the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, works with the State Department of Water Resources to conduct the two levee inspections. And we always strive to get a perfect inspection with no unacceptable items. And we've been successful with that. I'd say every year except for one, we had some excessive growth from a mitigation site that creeped up the levee that we hadn't realized had exceeded the limits for it. So we had one unacceptable item in about the last 20 years or so. But we take that very, very seriously to have the absolute best care because we are protecting so much here in Sacramento. But it's a great place to work. We have a great board. We serve an elected board, people elected from the community here that we protect. There's 5 elected people. We do have an election coming up this year, so you'll probably see some flyers in your mail talking about our election coming up. And we also have a newsletter that goes out every year. Perhaps some of you have seen our newsletter. One thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today was kind of the standard of care that we like to see on the levees. When I first got this job, there was kind of almost a patchwork of different treatments that we would have of the land side of the levee from reach to reach, or in some neighborhoods like across the river, it would be from behind this house to behind that house. Some had ground cover, some had irrigation, some had fruit trees, and that's really not acceptable to protect an urban levee district, urban population like this. We want to have a uniform treatment of the levees everywhere so that everyone gets the same high standard of care to where we can access the levee, we can clearly inspect the levee and make sure there's no problems or weak spots or danger spots or anything that might cause weakness or a failure in a flood event. So what we want to see is that we have clear access to mow. We try to keep a sod covering on the levees everywhere here in Sacramento. And we find that mowing is the best way to keep a nice close cropped view of the levees. And also the grass protects the surface of the levees from erosion and foot traffic and stuff like that. So we've done pretty well, I believe, for slowly getting rid of the unwanted encroachments. A lot of what we saw when I first got here was, vegetable gardens and terracing, steps, handrails, different things like that. And we've slowly removed those. We've worked with the adjacent landowners and we haven't had any serious confrontation with the landowners because I think they understand that as the levee standards have become more stringent, especially after Hurricane Katrina, that there's really a higher expectation of us in this region to do a better and better job every year to maintain the levees. Part of that effort, there was a regional effort to get levee accreditation in Sacramento. And what that is some engineering firm needs to attest for FEMA that our levees can pass a 100-year flood event. And if it can pass a 100-year flood event, the residents behind the levee can get a reduced flood insurance rate. And that's really important for our region. So our region had an engineering team look at our levees and to make sure that based on all the structural requirements and flow requirements, erosion requirements, and all these different concerns that the levees could withstand a 100-year flood. But one element of that was our operation and maintenance program sufficient to ensure that that 100-year flood could be passed safely? And one thing that the engineers looked at was the encroachments and any excessive vegetation. They found that there was some excessive vegetation that over time should be removed. But the other 2 encroachments that were actual physical encroachments that was concerning to the engineering team were some retaining walls down at the bottom of the levee that we call the toe of the levee over on the land side. You see that more on the south side of the river. And so we're still working with those homeowners to remove those retaining walls and restore the levee earthen embankment down there and not have that weak point in the levee. The other item that was noted was any pressurized irrigation lines. That was not acceptable because the lines could spring a leak and you might not know it, and it could cause a sinkhole in the levee after years of not being detected properly. Or my fear would be during a flood event, we're patrolling looking for seeps and boils, and then the irrigation system fails, and all of a sudden we see water pouring out of the levee on the land side of the levee, and we might start a flood fight there or redirect resources that were needed elsewhere to try to resolve the leaking pipes or something like that. So one thing the engineering team for accreditation did note was along the Nepenthe Homeowners Association stretch here was that there was a pressurized irrigation system. And I was tasked with working with you folks to see if we could cut and cap that and remove it from the levee. And also that type of thing isn't typically permitted any longer by the state of California. So it was just something we would need to resolve over time. So recently, when Betsy and her team approached us and indicated that there was a willingness on your part to no longer maintain the levy, that, you wanted my district to take it back and us to do full maintenance on the levy per our responsibility and assurances to the state, I thought that might be a good opportunity to address those pressurized pipelines. So I was really thankful that we were able to cut and cap those and remove those from the levy. And now you notice that the levy is no longer green, because the reason it was green was because you folks were paying to irrigate that. And when you irrigate the grass, you get rampant growth. It looks beautiful, but now you have to maintain it, which it probably required weekly mowing or something like that. Yeah. And that's very costly. So my team here has 40 miles of levees, and we mow them with large tractors. Perhaps you've seen them drive by, and they have kind of a robotic arm with the flail mower that sticks out. We can navigate through and direct that mower head to mow the levees. So we mow 40 miles of levees here in Sacramento, and it takes our team about 6 weeks to mow the entire levee. To the entire district. So we try to get through here about 4 times a year. Sometimes we can get in a 5th mowing late in the season around August, September timeframe, but we try to start mowing around April and we wrap it up sometime in August. So it's not the same treatment of the surface of the levee like you were used to when you guys had a landscaping team that was grooming the levee. But with my team, we're mainly looking to mow it, to inspect for any defects in the levee. So we want to get the mowing, the grass getting down to maybe 4-inch height multiple times throughout the summer to look for any rodent burrowing or any damage or cracks or broken pipes. Sometimes, like Sac State had a broken pipe we saw last spring. We were able to work with them to fix that. So the objectives of our team in the mowing is slightly different than what you had in the past. I think it was mowed in the past with an eye for more of like a park-like setting. And for us, we know Sacramento is a very arid climate, and we're not able to achieve that same type of sod covering without the irrigation. But I assure you, it's the same treatment of the levees that we have elsewhere in our district, and we're trying to keep it really uniform. So if you have any questions about the specifics of what we're doing out there or the timing, I'd be happy to address them.
Tim, I have one question. We have some folks who own units in our association that back up to the levee there along University Avenue. And it's never been real obvious to us where the property line is between Nepenthe and the levee. I understand it's owned by Sacramento Regional Parks. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
We did some property boundary surveying on the south side of the river, and we found that the levee is typically situated on these long parcels that are owned by Sacramento County Regional Parks. Although the state purchased the easements for the levee system in about 1955,
Okay.
County Regional Parks purchased the underlying fee title in about 1984.
Okay. All right. So one of the things we've been considering is retaining a surveyor to stake, with temporary lath, the property line from Howe Avenue up to where our property ends, which is where the student housing is. It's not terribly expensive. Would you guys be willing to share in that?
I really think we would be able to. We've done that with other residents adjacent to the levee in the
Mhm.
past. My board was able to split the cost of the survey.
Uh-huh.
And we find that helps as a good neighbor, because when people are building a fence or something like that, it helps us
Yeah.
identify the proper location to put the
Yeah, it would
fence. And
really-
then going forward, we have
yeah.
that marker in
It'd
the
be
field.
really helpful for us because we've not been sure. And we have a lot of owners living there who rightfully are expecting, who's responsible for what?
Mhm.
And, you go out there, you can't tell. We really need it staked. So I would suggest perhaps if you could talk to your board and see whether, I think we had a couple of proposals that were in the record of $3,000 to $4,000. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. I can talk to them. Our next board meeting is next Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Could you let us know? Yeah. Because I think we tabled this last month because we wanted to talk to you first, not so much to share costs with you, but kind of figure out what was going on. So that'd be super helpful.
Is
Is that berm that's on our side of Powell Avenue up to University, is that part of the levee system?
Is that the one with the access ramp on it that comes off University Drive?
You know, it would keep water from coming in if Powell flooded from the river.
Oh, I don't know. If that's part.
I just wonder who's responsible for that. Maybe the
I'm-
city, I don't know.
Where are you talking about?
I live in 29, it faces Howe, and there's a berm about 10 feet high, all up Howe Avenue. I'm just wondering if it's part of the levee system or is it?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Familiar with that.
Okay. Other questions from folks?
No, we don't maintain that.
No.
No, I
Yeah.
know.
Ricardo, I see her. I know you have a question. And you know this guy.
Nice to see you again.
Retired from DWR, but back as an annuitant. So we have a property here on 1013 Dunbarton. I came in a little late, so I heard most of your presentation. So Tim, does American River Flood Control District maintain the landside levee toe plus 15 feet or plus 10 feet or plus how many feet?
Well, that's kind of a nuanced question because when we met in the field with Betsy, there was some wiggle room there because we wanted to be a good neighbor to you. I would be okay with just going to the toe. We like to go the toe plus 10 or 15 feet, but the main priority is just to keep that area unobstructed. You know, what type of treatment you have down there, if it's a low ground cover or a gravel road or sod, that's, I'm not as concerned about that. We just don't want any structures built there, any digging done there, or any, bushes or something that might impede our view for floods and inspections. But I think we could work together to figure out what the preference was, because if your team wants to do less over there, we could do a little bit more and try to get away from the levee. One thing we did is we took out the ivy because we were afraid that the ivy, if kept right at the toe, would keep encroaching up onto the slope and it would be a continual maintenance problem for us. So we took the ivy back, I think about 30 feet away from the levee, just because we thought that would be a long-term problem for us. We wanted to just resolve it in the beginning.
And Betsy, do we know if the HOA, the common property, extends how many feet from the levee toe? I guess maybe that's the question that the surveyors will.
I think exactly that's
Right.
what we would like to see
Yeah.
from the surveyor.
Because I got a phone call from a property owner. I think they've heard me maybe at some meetings and I know a little bit about the levees, maybe too much at times. And so the question I asked this person is, are the area you're talking about, is it more than 15 feet? Because that's kind of the state standard. So it gets into a little fuzzy discussion, fuzzy logic, maybe some people call it.
Ricardo, here, I can leave you and your team here with this printout I've got from this the county parcel viewer that shows the exact parcel we're talking about. And one thing, my board has always relied on the property line. I know the state standard is a regulatory standard that requires you to maintain or to control 10 feet from the toe, and then the Title 23 expanded it to 15 feet from the toe. But my board has always found it's easiest to negotiate with our residents if we go with the property line, because the property line is something you can mark in the field, and they have an ability to put a fence on their side of the property line with the proper permits, but we never want them to be on our side of the property line with any fences or encroachments. So the property line is something that's easy for us to just agree to work around that hard feature.
Yeah, so I think the question is the property line, and then how far is that from the levee toe? Because that levee toe plus 10 feet or 15 feet is a regulatory area where you need permission even to put
Map
road base or gravel.
I think it's right at the toe. I don't think the parcel is wide enough to also include the 10 feet. But
Well,
we can find that out.
let's get it staked and then we'll know.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Ricardo.
Thank you, Tim.
Nice seeing you again.
And Tim, the flood insurance now doesn't matter with the new FEMA insurance engine, risk rating engine. It doesn't matter if you're in the flood zone, in the special flood hazard area or outside. It depends on a bunch of variables. So prices are probably going up.
Uh-oh.
We probably still, well, there's a risk here because of the levies, but
I think having a accredited levy should still help in those calculations for you. We
we'll
hope.
see.
Okay.
We're waiting to get the new actuarial rates for a bunch of properties.
Okay,
Gotcha.
we all know what the levy accreditation means and what it doesn't mean. Yeah, and it's what it doesn't mean that's always the concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any questions from anyone else? Tim, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This
I can
is
leave more of my cards here too.
Yeah.
With Betsy, if anybody wants to contact me, I'm always open to talk or meet with you here
Okay,
in the field.
great.
Okay.
Okay, you're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, that was extremely helpful. And, he told me privately, he doesn't think they'll have any trouble sharing that cost with us. I mean, that's going to answer a lot of questions.
That really is helpful.
Okay, moving right along. Just executive session acknowledgement. We had an executive session this afternoon where we talk about disciplinary issues where people have not paid their fees, talk about personnel matters, discuss contract formation. So that's, and those are all in executive session.
Yeah.
So the next item is committee updates. And recently, I've been giving committees the opportunity to speak unless they didn't want to. But since this is our first meeting after we've had the committees formatted or formed, I'd like to call on each of the committees if they want to make a report. And Alan, you're top of the list here. So do you have anything to report? Oh, that was a no? Very well. Okay, all right. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Finance, Susan Timmer, are you on?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello. Do you
We-
want to make a brief report, Susan?
Very brief. Our committee meeting mostly consisted of an excellent presentation by Jim Donovan about the this past month's financials. It was a combination kind of explanation of how to read the financials, and I included a fair amount of detail in here just in case anybody wanted to kind of look and see what all the different sections meant if they felt like going through the monthly financials. We had a couple of new members and one of them has since resigned, but we welcomed a new member, Mary Gray, to the committee. And we had a new board liaison also in Ashley, and just noted that our finance charter mentioned that we were supposed to have the treasurer as board liaison, and only included that as a note because, there was a lot of discussion and it was really beyond our scope to be able to say one way or another who our board liaison would be. So just included that in there also. So we look forward to a good year, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you. We'll be calling in your committee pretty soon as we start putting the budget together.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Grounds, Christina, are you here? Nothing to report? Okay.
I have a question. It just says here in your minutes, request to the board, please review the draft plant palette provided by Garth Ruffner. Does the board want the contractor to use only the Ruffner palette for proposals? And we do have some proposals today, and we did vote back on May 4th at least to at least accept the guidance with getting some revisions back. So, I'll speak to that later, but
Yeah, that was the design guidelines, but the
yeah, I
plant,
know, but
yeah.
it's kind of related.
Okay, all right. That is on the agenda later. Nancy, insurance, any report to make?
You have our minutes, don't you?
Yes.
So our year is going to be a lot different than last year because we've got a lot of different things. You know, we've got Jackie on as our liaison and we're looking into FEMA a lot and the flood things. And so there'll be a lot of different things going on this year.
Okay, all right, thank you,
Got a good committee.
thank you.
We have a committee.
And outreach, Marcy Best, are you here? Marcy, are you on Zoom?
I don't think she is
Yeah,
actually,
Okay, all right.
but you do have other committee members if you want to, or as liaison, maybe. you
Well, I'm the
wanna-
liaison, and it was really a formational meeting. We all got to meet each other, talked about some potential activities during the calendar year. I already just learned an hour ago, maybe 30 minutes ago, that they've scheduled a Jazz by the Pool in September. Do I have that right?
Right,
Yeah.
and let's look at right now. I believe it is, yes, September 18th will be the Jazz at the Pool event.
So
So-
more to come on that later. but
Right, watch the
that'll-
newsletter.
That'll be fun, yeah. Watch music, okay. Okay, so much for committee updates. Thanks, everyone. Reports. Betsy, do you have a report to make?
I did provide my reports in the board packet. So if any directors have questions about that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I guess when Jim Defner came and spoke to us, he said he'd be getting us an updated reserve tracker early this week. Well, he said early next week, which is, I guess, early this week, and I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say I have not received it either, but I will follow up with him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Betsy, there's a notice of alleged violation from the city of Sacramento.
Yes,
Um,
unfortunately.
Can we,
Yeah, the city tends to be very responsive. Now, this first one unfortunately was sent to Mr. Keller's address. He is one of the homeowners along University. Since this, he's been able to correct that with the city because apparently it is targeted at an unmaintained yard owned by the association. So I will be making contact with the city. I just got the new one last week and when I was uploading it, I thought I uploaded the new one and I uploaded this older one, but I am working with the city to let them know that we are in an agreement with the American River Flood Control
has this
District.
happened before?
It's happened with different things. So sometimes, homeowners are concerned about water use or something, and so they'll make a report to the city. The most recent one was somebody had a complaint about the Dunbarton Cabana landscape, which we never could really understand that, but the city inspector came out and he said there's no problem.
Sure.
So
Okay. I think a lot of times folks are not sure who to call, so, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, Betsy, is that the end of your report?
yes.
Okay, we come now to our first homeowners forum. Let me remind everyone that if you want to make a comment, please be courteous and concise, and we will keep you to 3 minutes so that we can get through this.
And use the microphone.
Yeah, and please use the microphone. So, Mr. Huffman.
Yes, Mr. Baker. As I walk around our community this summer, I'm struck by what I don't see. Some shrubs need pruning, but considering what time of year it is, overall the landscape looks fairly good. 12 months ago, management was issuing work orders to do emergency pruning in alleys so residents could see to back out of their garages. And so people could get to their mailboxes. The place looks shabby. Why the difference? I asked Betsy. She told me that since last year, there has been enough shrub removal and remediation to make a difference. I think of the Zone 6 pilot, the project in Zone 7, and work elsewhere. For me, this validates the need for continued shrub removal and remediation as prescribed in the grounds vision document and now confirmed by Garth Ruffner. Continuing that work will allow us to contain costs and improve our appearance long run. But it seems some in our leadership and within the Grounds Committee continue to oppose it. Some argue that instead we should be reducing water use further by removing areas of turf and realigning our irrigation. That too is necessary. Shrub removal and remediation and cutting water use are both important and require expenditures over several years. I see no reason to pursue one to the exclusion of the other.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next? I see people pointing fingers over there. Who gets elected? Mr. Pelcover.
Last Friday, I sent an email to all the board members.
Closer to the mic,
Is this
please.
not on?
No, it is on, but you need to get right up on it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Last Friday, I sent an email to all the board members concerning what I called the committee gap, which is the time period between the election of the board members and the appointment of the committees. In this particular year, because there was no meeting in June, that period of time was something like 40 days. In the previous year, and it was quickly pointed out to me that this year was because of that, no, not having a June board meeting. In the previous year, it's only been a couple of days between that. I was concerned that we didn't have operating committees since the bylaws. And actually, Davis Sterling requires our committees to be permanent. That is, they're always in existence and the board can't eliminate them. But of course, you have to appoint the members to have on that committee. I, again, am concerned about the time frame between when the board is elected and there's actually an operating committee. And I know usually it's short. This year, it's going to be reversed if you stick to the bylaws, and that is since the committee was appointed in July, the board members are appointed for, committee members, I'm sorry, are appointed for a year. So technically, they'd go till July. I don't see that happening because there's going to be a new board. Anyway, I would like the members of the board to consider your procedures, which I don't find in conformity with the bylaws, and deal with that in some fashion. I don't expect an answer now, but I'd like you to look at what I wrote and consider it. I've asked Betsy, I sent her an electronic copy of my thing, and I'd ask that it be in the minutes as a homeowner's request to the board. One other quick thing, a friend and neighbor. Yeah, I'll try and make it as quick as I have. Nina White has sent all of you an electronic project that she did on the ground stuff. She's not here tonight. She asked if I would request again that it be included in the minutes as a homeowner's request to the board. One very final thing.
That's your second final thing.
Okay, one final thing. The lights are still on last month.
Have we gotten any reports from NASA recently?
I'm sorry.
Has NASA reported on the lights?
NASA.
No,
Were you here at the last meeting when
I was here at the last meeting.
Bill
and I-
White informed us that the space station could see Nepenthe because we have such big lights? I'm
sorry.
kidding you.
I'm sorry, John.
okay.
I have a hard time hearing in this environment. My point very simply is that the lights are still on.
Yeah.
They've not been fixed. It's a month.
Yeah.
It's costing your money and my money. I'd like to see them taken care of. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
I guess I'll comment on that, but I I think, I did watch the grounds committee meeting and I am concerned that there's a narrative out there saying that the board entrusted management to make all these different decisions in lieu of the committees. And I never voted on that. I don't remember it. I don't see it in any of the minutes. and-
Ashley, excuse me, Ashley,
Okay.
this is not on the agenda.
Okay,
If you'd like this to be on an agenda, we can set it, but it's not on the agenda tonight. It's an open meeting. We have to notice it. This has been noticed. That's not on the agenda. I'm sorry.
okay. Well, I'd like it on agenda.
Fine. Okay. Anyone else care to speak? Yes, sir. Could you please use the microphone, please?
Do I need to go out there? I'm pretty loud.
No, because it's for the people online. That's
Oh,
what the
people.
microphones do. Yeah, so.
Thank
if
you. Yeah, okay. And please introduce yourself, please.
There is a black tubular fence, from.
Get on the microphone, please, and introduce.
There's a black tubular.
Introduce yourself, please.
Okay,
for the
my
minutes.
name's Randall Douglas. I live at 29 Adelphi Court. And there's the black tubular, looks like a pool fence from the, I don't know, the north border of Campus Commons, all the way down to University. Sir?
Yeah, it's Village 4 that owns that fence. They recently
Oh,
erected
that's a
it.
different HOA. That was a question.
Mhm.
$1,000 or 57.
So to get a fence on the Penth side, we would have to have an assessment or something.
It
I
would be a big bunch of money and unfortunately probably not accomplish very much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of break-ins, along our
Sure.
row over
Yeah.
there, and I was just curious.
Sure. Okay.
So there's no plan to do it unless we have an assessment
That's correct.
or something. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Mary Gray, please.
Over this for the short person. There we go. Hi, I'm here today with two questions for the board. Question number one relates to the gap period between May 25th and July 6th, when there were no board meetings and no committees. I noticed, as several of my neighbors did, that there was a mobilization of Carson during that time. Actually started to say that the board didn't vote on it. I want to state the board did not vote on any action to occur during that period. I am aware that some of them are tree remediation, but I would like to know who authorized the mobilization of Carson during the gap period. The second question is related to the board's adopted Garth Ruffner recommendations. They were adopted on May 4th. I'm going to read a few of them. Generally use low water plants. Most areas should be simple mass plantings of a single species. The goal is to create a green palette. Shrubs should be encouraged to touch and not pruned into individual plants. Where there are hedges, explore thinning out the number of plants, carefully and selectively prune the plants into small trees to allow a natural canopy. This allows a nice variety of plants and takes advantage of the hardy, drought-tolerant qualities of our older shrubs. Plantings are more interesting when the arrangements are staggered rather than lined up in rows. The use of bark is okay when an area is first planted. Plants at maturity need to provide ample coverage to avoid the view of dirt. And finally, summer months are not recommended for undertaking new plantings. None of these adopted recommendations were done during the gap period. Lots of money was spent, and I want to know why our recommendations weren't followed. Two questions. Hopefully my questions will be in the minutes. I'll look forward to answers in September.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Paul Keller, 1449 University. I'm here again to speak with you about the levy area. But first, I want to thank you all for your commitment on the board, and I know how much work you have.
Well, could you get a little closer to the
Oh,
mic?
sure.
So
Sorry.
the online
I
people
want-
can hear you.
Right, forgot. I just want to thank everyone on the board to start out with for all the hard work that goes into being on the board. You've heard, I think, a number of things about the levy, and it sounds like we're making some progress, hopefully get the survey done, because we do believe that the initial thought of where our land ended might have been a mistake. I think you're going to find that the HOA land extends just to the other edge of the redwood trees. So there is some land there that needs to be properly maintained. I couldn't ask Tim a question, or I would have, for him to acknowledge to you his cutting with that long arm only as far as it can extend from the top of the levee. So he gets the steep angle, but the area where it flattens out, we have knee-high weeds, and they can only cut once a quarter. That's where their budget is at. And, you know, we've gone from basically what used to be a once a week cut where it was watered. Now, of course, it's not getting water, so it doesn't need to be cut once a week, but it does need to be cut once a month because it's a fire danger, for one thing. You've got weeds growing up, very dry weeds, got a lot of homeless. Some of them are hanging out and building fires. You never know what's going to happen there. And there's more wildlife being encouraged to come into the area. So we'd like to see that be something to think about, is having Carson or somebody weed eat the area once a month. And that would give it a cleaner look. And that's probably the biggest issue the homeowners on the other side of university have. The one other issue and we want to be proactive, so we've talked about it among the homeowners, and that is the area just beyond the patio fences used to be shrubs. We understand they had to be taken out. You're saving on water, which is good. We believe in that. We believe a lot of that's going to occur over time. But we have dirt. We don't have anything. There's no weeds there. It's dirt. It's mud in the winter and dust in the summer. Why not gravel or rock that area? Maybe even make it look like a little dry bed, like you have all through Campus Commons, our little pathways of dry bed. Obviously, what the American River Flood Control is going to say, just don't dig down. They don't want us digging trenches. And by the way, I did talk with Ricardo, and I've invited him to come over to give us input on this. But those are the two main issues as far as cleaning up the levee, where the homeowners feel like, you know, it's a comfortable situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Mhm.
Anyone else in the room care to speak?
Ricardo.
Oh, Ricardo? We meet again.
I had surgery about a week and a half ago on my knee. Ricardo Pineda, 1013 Dunbarton. I'm not going to talk about the levies. I've mentioned at 2 meetings during public comment that I don't believe anybody's using the Stairmaster in the gym area, the workout room. Every time I use it, and I use it pretty frequently prior to my knee surgery, I've asked people and they say they don't use it. And I asked the board if they potentially could do a survey, not asking anyone to expend any funds yet, to do a survey to see who we could survey the residents, property owners, who uses the Stairmaster, and if it would to be replaced, should it be replaced with a rowing machine or a second elliptical? I haven't heard anything back. If you believe it's better for me to submit that in an email and print it out and leave it with the office, makes it more formal, I can do it. So what I'm asking is just to do a survey, inquire, to do our due diligence, so we can move down the road next year, the year after that, to replace that piece of equipment that I don't believe anybody's using. It's very hard on the knees. It's not very popular in any gyms anymore.
How's your knee surgery going?
Good. It was meniscus surgery. It was my third one. So
I just got over one too.
I was 4 days later, I was cycling, but still having a hard time sleeping at
Right.
night.
Thank you, Ricardo.
So thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Is there anyone online that would like to comment? I guess not. Okay. Okay. Agenda item Roman numeral 7, homeowner correspondence. Betsy, can you bring this up, please?
Let me make it a little larger. So Ms. Schmidt is putting forward the idea to stencil verbiage on the cement on both the long and short sides
It's
of the
concrete, Betsy.
concrete. Just reading from the letter. I don't know, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, lap swimmers or lap pool. And she's even being careful to, maybe not even put the word only, as that might cause affront.
Okay, yeah.
The only thing about painting, and especially cement, is it's not long lasting and it needs to be done. So then it becomes a maintenance item. So
I wonder whether like a little street barricade with a sign,
yeah,
which you can put out every day. Even with there's something painted on the concrete,
yeah,
it may get ignored.
yeah,
And, but we could put up a sign on the board or something.
yeah, that's a good idea.
They wanted
The-
to paint a stencil on the concrete saying lap swimming only.
Yeah, lap pool or lap
Yeah,
swimming.
okay, all right. So I think we can deal with that differently.
Mhm,
Okay, all right.
okay.
Okay,
Consent calendar.
consent calendar. Any questions from the board members on the consent calendar?
No. I just had one thing I just noticed. Carson wasn't paid in June. That's all. So I'm sure that'll change. They may have already been paid. It might just change the balances a little bit. The 42,000.
Okay.
They were paid May 13th, but not in June.
That surprises me.
I know. Surprised me
Okay,
too.
any other question on the consent calendar? Any objections from the board for the approval? All right, without objection, approved.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to
Sorry, I'm taking notes.
unfinished business.
Okay.
And I do have an update on this
Oh,
item.
yeah, this is the janitorial service, is that right?
Correct. So after watching the Zoom recording and listening to that conversation again, I pretty much took the suggestion that came from Mr. Elwanger, and per the board's directions, I wrote to the owner of Custom Care Janitorial, and I suggested perhaps they might be happier with a lower increase now and maybe a bit more effective January 21st. So they were asking for $600 per month. And I said, would you accept $300 per month now? And if performance levels remain high, another $300 effective January 2023. And she actually has been sick, but she was able to get back to me today, this afternoon, after a phone call, and was amenable to this suggestion.
Okay.
So it's up to the board now if you want to consider that. So her original letter was a request for, I will make this much bigger. Instead of $18.90 per month for 4 days per week of service, the new amount would be $24.90. So if you accept her revised offer, then it would be $21.90 per month from, she's asking for July. So July through December, and then increase it to $24.90 effective January 1 if the performance is still acceptable.
Comments from the board?
Is this an annual contract? Are we signing an annual contract?
It's a one-year contract that has an extension clause in it. So
So if we agree to this, it starts when?
for the extra $300 a month, she's asking for it to be effective retroactively to July. And then it would
Until
be,
next July.
no, for July through December of this year.
So it'd be 2190 back from July to the end of the year, and then another 300, so
Mhm.
2490.
Beginning January 1.
So we're saving ourselves, well, not saving, but an increase of 300
Yeah.
times
Well,
5.
this is like a 32% increase. If you look, it's a
Yes,
pretty
I-
substantial.
I understand that,
Yeah.
and I will, but all I can tell you is that they have not asked for increases each year.
Sure.
I think
Okay.
this is what they should, because it's kind of caught up to them now where they're really operating.
What,
at a
what do you
deficit.
feel about their service? Are they good, bad?
I'm really happy with the
Really?
service, but I also have no problem going out to solicit bids, just maybe just for the 2023 contract. You
Mhm.
know, if you want to do it that way, you can give plenty of
What-
time to
What's
interview.
what's the preference of the board? Microphone.
Sorry, have we had other maintenance services here before, and have they performed adequately as well?
They precede me coming here in 2013. So
Okay.
they are the only janitorial service I've worked with at Nepenthe. And I can tell you that before that, the only on-site that I was associated with was Heritage Park. And they had like a big sack valve janitor, you know, it was a very big contract and it was 7 days a week. So
Okay.
it's hard for me to compare. I'm sorry.
And this is going to continue at a 4-day contract, correct?
Right, right. Although she is offering, I mean, if you wanted to do, or if you want to do 5 days, at one point in the past, the board did try a 3-day a week, and that was really insufficient
Mhm.
because the trash and everything you
But
run
the-
out of toilet paper, you know, it's just, and it's all, you know, it's not like this bathroom running out of toilet paper, it's somewhere else, and I can't
Right.
always run over there and change it.
Is the 4-day a week sufficient?
It is.
Okay.
So Betsy, this is a 12-month contract, and not all the work is equal every month because we have the pools closed. So they have more work in some months and less work, but they charge us for every month the same, right?
Correct.
And they work not only in this building, but at the two.
Right, at Dunbarton Cabana
Okay.
and at the Elmhurst, where you
Okay,
also have
right.
the gardener's
Yeah,
restroom.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the preference of the board? Do you want to proceed with this or?
I would like to at least attempt to shop so we can see what others are charging and what their services are.
What are we going to do about the
Well,
time between now and then?
Well, let's agree to this
Yeah.
for the remaining.
Based on the email that Betsy sent, so. I think we should agree to it through the end of the year.
Yeah, through the end of the calendar year.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You okay with that, Ashley?
Thank you.
Cheryl?
I think it makes sense to
Okay,
now,
Mhm.
letting them know that
okay,
going
Yeah.
okay. All
I
right,
will
let
them know
let
that.
the minutes reflect that we've approved staying with these guys through December
Okay.
at this reduced number that she gave us, the 2190.
Mhm.
Okay.
Through December and going to bid.
Then we're gonna have 3 bids.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
Roman numeral 9, sub B, discuss relocating fences at 1425 and 1443 University for improved security. We had this item on once before.
Yes.
We did not take action. Betsy, can you kind of run us through what this is about?
Right. So this is a vulnerable area of Nepenthe. I think I've got little map or schematic photos showing. So if you're standing here on University Avenue, you can see that the apartment complex is on the right. The levee is in the back. And while this looks like a screen, if you walk over here to Mr. Polk's fence at 1425, right next to it is a bit of an alley. And this is a better shot of it. This is standing at the back with your back to the levee and looking out towards University. And so the problems that they've had are numerous. Mr. Keller is here who lives next door to 1443. He could probably speak on it more than I can, but you, even in this photo, you can see this light post has been vandalized, which apparently is a pretty frequent occurrence. People camp under the trees. They smoke or do illegal drugs. This is what's been reported to by the occupant living at 1443 through this window. And Mr. Polk, last year, there was a guy living in an RV on University Avenue using this area as his toilet. So they've asked for some relief from the association.
Remind me why we didn't act on this last time.
The only option that I had put forward at that time was to extend the patio fences of the 2 units to meet up with the apartment fence. And I think the board's feeling was maybe there's some other solutions we hadn't thought about. Maybe our committees might have some ideas. And since then, I've also, talked to Marcus a bit and thought of some different ideas. One of his ideas is just to put one fence at the back that kind of doesn't enclose the unit.
Can you go back to the
Yes,
picture,
and
please?
yeah, let me go back to that. So in this case, it would just be a fence basically that goes across
Go
here
to the other one first, to the other picture. That's the easier
and then
solution.
a fence here.
Straight fence.
Yeah, and not extending the patio fences, just basically fencing it off. So
Or
that,
just from the corner of his house?
right.
Yeah, okay.
So that you're kind of enclosing that whole area. And if you were to do it, instead of using a wood fence, but maybe something like a wrought iron fence, which nowadays is about the same price anyway, you would have visibility so people
Sure,
couldn't
yeah.
hide into that
That's a
fence
great
yard.
idea, yeah.
Yeah. And then another idea that I had was, and I talked to Oscar about this, you could get the large cobble that's really like this big, they're like boulders. And he did provide me with some pricing on that. If you wanted to do like a 4 to 8 inch cobble, which is pretty big, it would be about $4,000. And if you wanted to do the 8 to 16 inch cobble, which is like boulders, it would be $6,000.
What would the cobble do for us except making it hard to walk on?
Well, that would be it. I mean, it would make it so that you didn't want to use that as a walkway.
In my opinion, that's not enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
The homeowners want, or what do they prefer? I mean,
Neither of them has said that they, I thought they would kind of like this because maybe they'd have more space, more patio space, but neither of them has come forward to me to say specifically, yeah, I would like that.
I have issues with that because of the legal,
Legal,
do we deed them the land or do we keep it and who's responsible for it? And there's too many unanswered legal questions with expanding the patios and
Yeah.
I concur
we can't
with
go there.
Jackie.
Yeah,
I
last time you
concur,
had,
yeah.
last time would have expanded the patios.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that one, I agree. I think it is trickier. I mean, it can be done, but it's not just the cost of the fences. It's, you would have to have some legal agreement created.
So the current thinking, let's go back to the 2 photographs. And let's look at the one from the back first. So we would do a fence from his
Right
corner
here
over
to
there. And what
Mhm.
would we do in the front?
And the same thing. So on the front, it's kind of hard to see here, and I don't have the little drawing you gave me, but this, you have it with you? Oh,
And she has the
Marcus's
same thing.
drawing.
okay.
they could still
So-
get to the light though.
Yes.
So here's the problem on this one is, it's hard to see. There is a fence, which is the patio.
Right.
The patio fence. So if you go straight from that patio corner to the fence of where the parking lot is, there's actually still a area from the street towards that new fence
Mhm.
where they apparently relieve themselves.
Yeah.
Where they hide and because they're bushes.
Mhm.
So my suggestion would be you're pulling that fence from that patio corner
Mhm.
forward
Mhm.
as far as we are allowed.
Oh, right. Bring it
do it.
forward a little bit and over.
No, to the corner towards the street and then go over.
Yeah,
that way.
just
So-
behind the trees,
Yes.
basically where that big shrub is, that would be the beginning of the fence. And then it
Yes.
would extend back to the corner of Mr. Polk's fence.
And so his walkway on the left that
Mhm.
leads to the
This one.
to the patio there. If it doesn't look very appealing, maybe we can put like a couple of bushes along there to make it appealing from the patio, from the walkway side. So that's, I think that would be a good solution.
And that might be a solution for the 3 homeowners whose gates open onto the levee as well.
So is this university right here?
Yes, the university. and the others.
I can probably bring up the Google map as well, if that's helpful.
That's really about the only thing that can be done,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes, sir. Can you use the microphone, Paul? It's mostly for the people at Zoom because they can't hear if you don't use the microphone.
So the area right up closer to the street is not as big a problem because people, the homeless that go by there know there's someone living there and they don't want to be caught, so to speak. They're going back a little bit. So, and I think an open metal fence is a good idea because that way no one can climb over and just hide.
Mhm.
And it's been cleared of a lot of stuff already, a lot of shrubbery further back. So it's kind of open. So on both ends, if you did an open metal like they have with the apartments and other places, I think that's an excellent idea. And just do it simply from the corner of his entry fence to the fence of the parking lot.
Mhm.
And in the back from the corner of the house to
Mhm.
the parking lot. Also, by not doing wood, you don't have to worry about flashing and other kinds of material
Considerations.
combinations.
It's true.
So,
Thank you.
but it is a pathway right now, and we're getting a lot of traffic from
Yeah.
the levee. You know, it's just unfortunate.
I guess that the question we're having here is, Paul, if we did that, Paul? Hello, Paul. If we did as you suggest, there would still be a little areas between that and the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is
but
that
you
still?
have one big shrub that could probably come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty
You know.
landscaped right through here.
Yeah, well,
Uh-huh.
it may require some shrub remediation, you know, if it continues.
Yeah, or maybe we put
It's kind of
something.
overgrown there to some degree.
Yeah,
I mean,
and.
it fits in with your plan to reduce these big hedges. They're
Mhm.
just big overgrown hedges.
Yeah,
Why don't we do this? Let me suggest that we proceed with in the back first,
mhm.
the metal fence like our pool, which the apartments actually have along the levee.
Yep,
And you're right, it's no more expensive than wood probably.
no,
And then in the front, let's start with what Paul is suggesting
okay.
and see how that shakes out. And Paul, if that turns out to be a situation where we should have built a fence closer to the street, we can take care of that. You okay with that? Yeah, okay.
So bring back pricing for both options
sure.
though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Alan, you have a comment?
For Betsy, are these fences going to have any gates to them or just be fence?
They don't need a gate. And I know it's kind of hard to imagine this, but if we go back to the map and let me go back to this view, you can see that the alley comes in off of University. There would be no fence. This would not be fenced off. So like if we needed to, clean up the landscape back here, we could certainly do it. But if you were somebody who just wanted to walk through from the levee, you'd be stopped right here. Or if you wanted to come in you'd be stopped right here. But for us to do what we need to do, we can come in off the alley.
I see your point. I was misunderstanding. This fenced off area will be accessible from
Yes.
the alley.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Okay, so that answers one question. My thought about the cobbles was, my worry would be that, yes, it would tend to keep human beings out, but it might provide a very good habitat for small lizards and perhaps even snakes.
Oh,
And I'm sure that the neighbors don't want to even see maybe gophers or garter snakes living there, much less a rattlesnake.
oh yeah. Well, and there are rattlesnakes in that area.
Well,
So
and it
Want
is,
to
it is snake time right now.
Habitat for rattlesnakes.
Yeah, it is snake time right now. Okay,
yeah,
I'd like to move that we,
get pricing.
yes, get pricing
I'll
for
second
for
that.
2 fences for now. Any objection? May I have a second?
I'll second.
Jackie, any objection?
Not wood fences. we're
Metal,
talking metal
metal,
fences.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Ashley, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, without objection, approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Um,
Okay, let me get back
Item,
to where we
uh,
were.
Item Roman numeral 9 sub C, consider a proposed rule regarding the sale of homes, estoppel process.
Right. So what I would like to update you with, I mean, there is some correspondence and I'm happy to bring that up on the screen. I did meet with 2 members of the Architectural Review Committee, Alan Waters and Pat Singer, and we kind of started talking through it. I feel maybe we put the cart before the horse a little bit on this one because the attorney wrote the proposed rule, but really the people who would actually be doing the process haven't really had time to have a lot of input on it. So that's why I'm asking the board to table this for another month.
Yeah, okay.
Give them time to work.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Is that good?
You think we're going to be able to pull this off or?
Yeah, because, I think, I mean, I won't speak for Alan, but I felt after our discussion that it seemed like a really good way for us to be able to, sellers have disclosure requirements,
Sure.
but we have things that we would want to disclose to a buyer as well. And it would be our opportunity to do that. It's not to hold up a sale. It's just to simply issue a statement that the buyer would get about things they need to be aware of.
Okay.
Betsy, can you explain how the HOA discloses deficiencies on homes?
Currently, let's say you you have a violation in your file because you have a condition on the property that I was able to see on a landscape walk. So it could be a tree that's touching your roof and it's really hanging on the roof. And you don't correct it. When you go to sell your home and the escrow officer asks for a statement of, what's owed and what, any statement of account, that's disclosed to the title officer who shares it with the buyer, which that's part of the problem. But there are many things we can't see in a patio. And so there could be a condition where perhaps somebody has built up a planter right up against the siding, which we're obligated to maintain. But here this homeowner has hastened its decay by putting soil up against it. This estoppel process would allow us to be able to see, if a condition like this exists, that we can make the buyer aware of it. I don't think it's practical to expect the seller to correct it before the close of escrow.
So
but-
that's just like you guys don't correct
Right.
anything. You just, what are you handing them?
Well, so like if they had the tree that was on the
Mhm.
roof, that example.
No,
if-
stuff that we
Oh.
have to fix. You have.
Oh, right. So for our side of it, so when this, when a realtor lists a house, they usually will get a pest report done. They provide a copy of the pest report to management. We look at it to assure ourselves that yes, the items noted in the pest report are the association's obligation to maintain under the CCNRs. And then we issue a letter to the selling homeowner stating, thank you for the pest report and request for service. We are confirming that, items 3B, C, whatever are on the report are the association's obligation to maintain, and we will maintain it during our normal cycle. And right now I'm actually able to give them a year because we've started phase 1. So I can say, it's either going to be phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. So
But that does not never hold up escrow, correct?
no, oh, no.
If, for instance, we determine that someone's installed dual pane windows without authorization and without going through the process, then that also alerts the buyer that there may be potential issues.
Right.
So if there's a delay, that would become in the negotiation for perhaps a change in the price in order to correct or something like that. But
Right,
that would
and-
be between seller and buyer, correct?
I mean,
Yeah.
right, that's right.
So at the end of the day, we're not going to proceed with this until we get more input.
Right. I think Alan and Pat are working on a form that really covers first of all, any architectural improvements that they can see or have been approved to make sure that it complies. And then also any conditions affecting our maintenance agreement
Okay, Alan,
under the CCNRs.
last comment.
I wanted to let the board know I've also been working on a statement to accompany this, to explain what it is, where it came from, why the board is doing it, to make
Kind of a
us
white
all
paper.
better,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Mhm.
I have a question. Something just came in today about someone potentially maybe wanting to put the refrigerant line set for their heating or their outdoor compressor, sticking it along the fence. Betsy, when someone buys a home, are they informed of the caveats that come with certain architectural improvements that we've told the homeowners about, like skylights and solar tubes? We tell the owner that if it leaks, it's your responsibility. And if you have the line set on the exterior of your home or you have it attached to your fence, you have to pay to take it off so the fence can be repaired.
You know, it is disclosed to them, but only in so much as they receive their CCNRs at closing and they go home with this big stack of papers and we can say that has been disclosed to them, you know, and sadly, they don't really take it in until such a time comes when they have to replace that condenser.
It
and
may
find
not be
out.
in writing, but we could do that in this estoppel process and say, it is noted that it
Yeah.
would be the owner's responsibility to remove these things
Yeah, and
at their
since,
expense.
right, since we have such a extensive shared maintenance responsibility, anything we can do to educate a new homeowner, I think is really good. Yeah.
Does the board have any questions for me? I'll excuse myself.
Apparently not. Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Alan. Thanks
Thanks,
for the
Alan.
input. Appreciate the time you're putting into this, Alan. Okay, item 9D, landscape design guidelines. We put together guidelines after discussions with Mr. Ruffner. We have since received comments from Carson, which are mostly, we agree. There were a couple of areas where I think they pointed out, you know, this may not be practical. Are you asking the board to do anything with this right now, Betsy?
Well, so far, the grounds committee really hasn't had the opportunity to look through it because this happened right before everything changed. So I think that they would like to put it on their agenda next month.
Sure, okay. Christine, are you okay with that? Okay, all right, okay, all right. All right, item 10, new business plant palette. Betsy, do you want to just explain why this is there?
Well, again, this is something that was part of the contract with Garth Ruffner was for him to prepare a plant palette, which he has done. I did provide it to the board, you know, once it came in, I just emailed it kind of casually to the board, but you really haven't had a chance to discuss it in open session. And it may also be premature until the grounds committee has had a chance to look at the other piece of it, which
Sure,
is the design.
Christine, are you guys prepared to look at this? Betsy's suggesting that the grounds committee should take a look at this before we've adopted it. The plant palette.
I think Cheryl had.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
I think that the committee would prefer that this be tabled until they have a chance to compare not just this, but what we're currently doing and look at the implications for the plans we've got for landscape shrub remediation, what we're doing for irrigation, and how all of those things overlap and coincide. So
Yeah.
we would prefer that this be tabled until the committee has a chance to work on it.
I agree with, I like what Cheryl said, but I just also wanted to add, it'd be kind of neat just to see if you guys could pick out a few plants that you really like, kind of prioritize a few. And I know that there've been some plants that Carson's been planting that, you know, I like manzanita, but I don't think they fit the look and feel here very well. So just, you know, keeping in mind, you know, I think a lot of people like how it looks right now. And then there's another group that doesn't like how it looks. But so how can we kind of integrate both?
Hello. Yes, is correct on that. But what we asked at the grounds committee was actually to request the board to review the plant palette list and come back to us to see if you wanted us to incorporate the plants into proposals, or were you planning, or were also some of the Carson plants as well, we were asking for them to give us a list as well. So we are confused as to, does the board want us to exclusively use Garth Ruffner's plant palette list? And we don't know, so we don't quite sure how we should proceed on that.
Okay.
And actually at Nick Schubert, who's the irrigation specialist, did comment on the fact that there are different types of plants need different watering schedules. So there's high water plants, medium and low water plants. So you've got to be very careful when you actually plant them in certain spots, that we are not actually putting high water plants into an area where perhaps we have other plants there for low. So that's where we are. So that's the confusion we have. So we are needing guidance from the board. I think it's rather complicated with this plant palette list because of the fact that it requires different watering schedules, and the plants have low watering needs, medium and high. So
And many of them are natives.
yes,
what I can-
exactly. And so you can't put them into turf areas because that'd be overwatering. So there's, I think, a little bit more work which needs to go into trying to figure out how we move forward. And I think we're also asking Carson to give us a list of plants as well, and all to get us an idea. So
Okay.
that's.
Okay, that's helpful. Comments from the board?
Well, I would like to see.
Ashley,
Oh, sorry. I would like to see more of the Garth Ruffner plant palette used, and maybe if there is a proposal that we are going to do, maybe try a few of them and just see what they look like. Because it seems like even though we as a board have done all this work to kind of move toward, kind of more of that California landscape and the native plants, it seems like what they're doing it hasn't changed at all. It's still the same. And I don't think we all did all the work to have things look just the same.
Well, we've got a lot of remediations that you'll see, tree remediation proposals. So it's not just one or two. We've got quite a number of them, which you have to review tonight. So.
So I've been reading through these pages here from Carson, the comments that Carson made. To me, it looks like that Carson has looked at the plant palette and the suggestions from Garth Ruffner. And I would prefer, if we are going to retain Carson as our landscape company, that we follow their lead, whatever, I didn't really see big disagreements between Carson and Ruffner's suggestions. So I would propose that we closely work together with Carson on that.
I don't agree with that, like their comment. I don't agree, like their comment right there, simple space plants with bark mulch. But I mean, it's just looking too sparse, and some of the plants are, there's not a mass, there's not a large enough plantings. It's just, I just don't think it's in keeping with what we have here.
All right, are we,
I would like to make a motion to follow Carson's recommendation.
Can I make a comment?
No, it's not time yet, Dawn.
let us vote first.
Hold on a second.
I may have a second.
I second.
Cheryl, second.
Yes.
All right, Betsy, call the roll.
I am so sorry. Will you restate the motion for me? I'm afraid I
Can't
missed.
remember what I said. No. I'm
I
just
guess I
kidding.
can always go back and check on the.
I would like to propose that we follow Carson's recommendation.
Can I make another movement?
Not
before this-
yet.
Oh, okay.
Not
But
yet.
what if it gets accepted?
Not yet. All right, so we have a motion from Marcus.
And it was seconded.
I
by-
seconded that.
Okay,
that
John
we-
seconded.
I mean, this basically is using the plant palette proposed by Ruffner with comments from Carson, many of which they agree, and they had some pretty meaningful comments as well. Bet you
Okay.
call a roll, please.
Okay, Baker.
Aye.
Tangeras. Gravitas.
Then just say no and we'll table it till next time.
No influencing here. Okay, Marcus.
Aye.
Okay.
Carol? Okay, we got 3-1 with 1 to go. You're saved, Jackie. Motion passed.
Well, I was going to motion that we let the landscaping committee just make a secondary comment on Carson's revisions and get feedback from them on what they said.
Mhm.
Okay, would you like to move that?
Yeah, I would like to move that.
Okay, the motion is to not take any action on new plants until the grounds committee has made recommendations. Does that sound right?
Is there a second? Motion dies for no second.
Okay.
Don?
Yes, Don Elwinger, 1221 Vanderbilt, and I am on the landscape committee. And the question I have is, why do we spend money for Garth Ruffner to put together a palette when you, as our board, stand up here and want to do exactly what Carson is doing? We can't, I mean, some of these plants can be pruned, look fine. I don't think we need to totally rip everything out and replant 7 zones. And because one zone looks a certain way doesn't mean that all in Nepenthe needs to look the same. I don't think. That's my opinion. I think we're spending way too much money on landscaping. And I think that with what Ashley said, that the landscape committee should review this and then bring it back to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, item 10B, tree removal sites.
Okay.
Ricardo?
Yeah, comment. Did I miss something in the procedural? Did you just have a motion? Not the one that wasn't second. Did you, no, you had the motion that didn't become a motion because it wasn't second, but before that, you had a motion and wasn't there supposed to be discussion before you voted?
Not necessarily.
Okay, I thought Robert Rules of Order were clear that you put forth a motion and before you,
had-
and you have a second,
The
and then after
board-
you have
the
the
board-
second, you have
The
discussion.
board had a discussion.
But you had a discussion before the motion.
It's,
The
it's
discussion still
done.
happened. Robert's Rules of Orders exist to assist you. You don't exist to support Robert Rules of Order.
Well, I understand that, but it seems like you put forth a motion, it was seconded, then you should allow for discussion before you vote. I've worked on 2 boards, been on a board work. So I think you didn't follow the right procedure. That's my point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment? Yeah. I hope your knee surgery went well. I see you're walking around.
Thank you.
And yeah, I had some concerns about hiring Garth and then following what Carson and someone else that we hired. Yes, they're a landscape company, but I don't know that they truly understand the way a landscape architect understands our community and what should be here. Garth has been here before 2014, and he's been here prior to that. So he has a very clear understanding of our landscape and our community. So I would hope that the board would really take a good look at what we are about. We're an urban forest before they take Carson recommendation.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 10B, tree removal remediation projects. So kind of history here, and Betsy, correct me if I got this wrong. The board approved tree removals in every zone. And they have not been affected yet.
Correct, because you did pass a policy that stated that the trees were not to be removed until the remediation was agreed upon.
Exactly, right.
Okay, with that, okay, so I just want to clarify. It looks like it's not just May 25th, we did zones 3 and 6, and then May 4th, we did the other zones. So even though we approved it, can I just clarify that we haven't signed a contract with Grove or whatever on that?
Well, the motion stated that the tree work was approved, but that the removals were not to take place until the remediation plan was approved.
Yeah,
So they have started the pruning already.
Yeah, I mean, we approved it. They're authorized to start.
Right.
This is asking us to approve what to do after the trees are taken out.
Right.
And which is something that we agreed to do, which actually came from the grounds committee. Make sure you have a way to fix what's going to happen after you make a
Right.
mess taking the tree out.
Right. The policy
Right, okay.
originated in the grounds committee and you adopted it, I believe,
So
in May
what we
4th.
have here, we have proposals
And
in several zones, and then we have some that have been tabled by the grounds committee.
right, right.
I'm
And
ass-
they are not in your packet.
But they're not
only-
prepared to,
Right.
yeah,
These ones tabled are not
Right,
included.
okay.
Well, Can I say something? I mean, the big issue to me is that we don't have the new reserve tracker. There are all sorts of inconsistencies with it. If you look at our, it's the general reserves that we're showing basically that we started out the year with a negative. I understand that they put some of the general reserves in there, but still nothing's matching up. And if you look at the expended year to date, that doesn't match up with what's on the first service reporting. And then it's just, we don't have a clear picture of how much money is left.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true, Ashley.
Well, I'm quite sure of it.
I'm quite sure you're wrong.
Okay.
Well,
You know, Betsy has provided the updated reserve tracker.
That's not it. The guy from First Service is going to give it to us and we haven't gotten it.
What are you suggesting, Ashley?
Well, I think we should wait. I think we need to validate, from what I'm seeing, the other issue is we've got a lot of unpaid invoices. I don't have the invoices, so it says there's work orders without prices on them. I don't know how much they are. A lot of these different work orders that happened the past couple of months, we don't have prices on them. And they're eventually, we're on a cash basis, and once those hit, we're gonna have a lot less money. We don't know how much money we have.
Betsy, can you respond to that?
Well, I can tell you that your reserve for landscape, and it's here in my management report. I mean, granted, I don't have an up to the minute thing. I haven't received the invoice from Carson for work that was completed in July. I anticipate having that in the next few days. I don't think that's saying the same thing as you don't have an obligation to maintain the landscape, though.
Well,
I mean,
that's-
some of these trees are dead and they do pose a hazard. And to say, well, we can't remove the trees until we have a remediation plan, but we can't have a remediation plan until we know every penny that's been spent to date. Your reserve is there to take care of what needs to be taken care of. In some years, you may spend a little more and then you adjust, and the next year you spend a little less. It's not a operating budget where if you say we're going to spend $50,000 on a specific item and you spend $100,000 on that item, then you don't have enough to pay the water bill.
I understand that, but the issue is those work orders that we did, it got hit on our books. It was back, I can tell you exactly when it is right now. Let's see. So the board approved it. I think it was back in March. There was a bunch, it equaled out to 66,000. That wasn't shown as completed until June 24th. We have not gotten an invoice from Carson on that. We have another one. We didn't get a work order made for all of these board approved projects, which I do believe have been done. That was for $142,050. So it's over, over 200,000 right there that hasn't been invoiced. It hasn't been deducted from our year, expended year to date. We don't have a true picture of how much money is there, and we might have to skimp on some of these things. I agree it's going to be ugly, but we might have to deal with ugly for a little bit.
All right, what's the
I'd
pleasure
be
of the board?
happy to walk through the finances with someone.
Would anyone on the board like to make a motion that we proceed with these?
I would like to make the motion that we proceed with this exactly the way it states here.
I motion that we.
Hold on, we
Okay,
have.
All right, but
we- All right, we have a second from Cheryl. That we proceed as proposed.
Okay.
Betsy, would you like to call the roll?
Okay. Okay. All right. Baker
Aye.
and Tangeris.
no.
Okay. And Grubidas.
Aye.
Dasher, aye. And Nelson, aye.
Okay, Ashley, you had another
Well,
motion?
I was going to motion that we table this until, for two reasons, until we get the reserve tracker cleaned up and we receive work orders or invoices, excuse me, for all of the outstanding work orders that are sitting out there. And we get everything cleaned up. I'd also like to see all of these proposals incorporate the plantings that the plant palette that Garth recommended. So, I feel like this is financially reckless if we were to approve this as it is.
Well, we just approved it.
Okay.
All right.
And there's a second proposal.
We on homeowner request 611 Elmhurst. Is that where we are now?
Yes.
All right. Betsy, please introduce this. Don, hold on.
Yes. So during the tree walk, the arborist identified the tree as having died, and that here's the portion of his report. Let me make this bigger. And the reason it was winter, and so most of the time the birch trees, I had highlighted it, but it didn't last, but that's okay because we'll look at the picture. So this is the picture taken in the winter. In the winter, most of the birches do lose their leaves. And the fact that this one had the leaves still on it indicated to Mr. Dubois that it was dead. It has since put on some new growth. And my understanding is that Don Elwanger, the zone steward, had a chat with the homeowner, and the homeowner is unhappy and would like the board to table this, and he's asking that the community plant more trees and not take his tree away.
Cheryl, Cheryl, comment?
Can I? Okay.
Sorry. I understand.
Microphone, please.
I understand that the arborist is going to take another look at this situation. So I think it makes sense to table it until we have more complete information about what's happening with the tree. My understanding is that the birches are failing, and this may be something we have to address in a later time, but I think it's wise to take a look and ask the arborist for another opinion before we make a decision.
Don?
Yes. Anyway, I am the ground steward with Christina George in Zone 5. We looked at the tree. Christina George met with Paul Duval, and they looked at the tree. The tree is alive, very much alive. In fact, here.
Thank you.
Anyway, and I did meet with the owner. He couldn't be here tonight. He's out of town. Anyway, he has one tree there on his that shades his patio. he obviously would like to have another tree planted. There was also landscape improvements of they were going to take out the shrub, the lawn, everything, which he is definitely opposed to per Garth Ruffner's. Those hedges could be pruned down and the lawn could stay, which is a pretty nice little piece of lawn for all the dogs we have in the neighborhood. And Carson's crew was out there yesterday and did prune down those pictures of before, did prune down the hedges and did prune down or did prune the tree. I would like to have the tree taken off the removal list. And I would like to have the proposed remediation at 611 Elmhurst be canceled. It's $6,200 to rip everything out and put in rocks where the grass is and everything. And these are the type of things I'm talking about that I don't feel need to be done. I mean, we don't need to just go out and
Okay.
slash and burn
We
everything.
we have agreed to table this for now.
I'm sorry,
We have agreed to table this for now.
I don't want to table it. I want to cancel it.
Well, I don't think there's a
We,
motion.
we make the decision here. We are going to table it and no motion on your part.
That seems strange because we didn't vote.
Why table it for what reason? I mean, why can't we just
Cheryl, did you make a motion to
freeze
table?
alive?
I will formally make a motion that we table this until we have more information and can re-examine what the real and get a formal report from the arborist.
I will second that. Any objections from the board?
No.
Without objection, approved.
Randall Douglas, 29 Delphi Court. The big tree that was just removed over on Howe is right in front of my place. And they did a great job. I appreciate the board taking care of that. But if there's any money for remediation of the area, I don't see a need in spending it. I don't know what zone I'm in and so forth, but it looks great. They ground the stump down and it looks fine. I don't think we should do anything.
We're talking about areas where it looks like hell after the tree was taken out. And there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a very dangerous tree though. I'm
Sure,
glad
yeah,
it's gone.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for those, Don. Okay, so we have not taken action on that.
Right, it's tabled.
Okay, we have item 10D, proposal for landscaping zone 5. Cheryl, would you like to address this?
Yes, work has been done in this zone and there are about 10 to 12 houses that have been affected. When the work was done, there was no remediation proposal made. This is a remediation proposal to plant and correct this. It's in zone 5. Do we have it up? And it's covers several houses and of course, visual for some other houses. So I would like to move that we approve this proposal.
May I have a second?
Wait. Which one? 186.
May I have a second?
I guess I will second it.
Okay. Comments from the board?
I don't remember us approving ripping all the stuff out over there. Am I thinking of the same place? So it didn't go like we voted on zone 7, we voted on, but I don't remember voting on taking things out. So I'm not going to vote yes on putting things in because I never voted on taking it out.
And yet we have something that needs to be fixed. Betsy, would you call the roll, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Tenjeris,
No.
Dasher, Gravitas, and Nelson.
Motion passed 4-1.
Okay.
All right, proposal for reserve study update.
Yes.
He only wants to charge us $1,000 to do this?
Well, again, this is a annual update with no site visit. So it is a bookwork update. And I will be providing him with what has been spent and what's estimated to be spent in the year of 2022. And he will prepare a draft. And then at that point, the finance committee usually is the first reviewer, but obviously directors can review it too, see if they feel like the allocations that he's calling out or the timeline he's proposing aligns with your goals, and we can negotiate from there. But yeah, to get that ball rolling.
When do you expect we might see his first draft? I mean, we're going into budget season. This is
Yes.
like a huge piece of the budget.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah. Well, he has confirmed he'll be here for the finance committee. So I will just confirm again with him that he'll have it in advance of that. So we
right.
can distribute it.
I'd like to move that we approve this.
I second.
Any objection? Without objection, approved. Okay. Okay, we have come to the second homeowner forum. Anyone care to speak? Anyone online? Okay, our next meeting is September 7th at 6 o'clock. We're adjourned.
I'm gonna eat dinner, I'm sorry. So why was Ruffner hired anyway? I wasn't.
I'm sorry.
Why was Ruffner